Donald Trump delivered a speech in Rome, Georgia, and I want to play a couple moments from it for you, focusing in on two particular ones, different subjects, but both important to address. The first being disgusting, the second being dangerous. So some good things to look at. A lot to discuss in this segment about these, though. So the first is Trump coming out on stage and very quickly mocking stuttering. And I do want to quickly make the distinction before playing this clip. There's a difference between criticizing Biden or criticizing any individual within the political realm for cognitive acuity or lack thereof. If you want to make a criticism about someone not being sharp enough, not having the cognition to do the job, that's within a political conversation. I disagree with those making that accusation against Biden, but that's within a political debate because it is relevant to political leaders. What's not relevant to our political leaders and their effectiveness in governing and decision making is having a lifelong stutter and mocking that. And that's what Trump does here, because you can tell with what I'm about to play you, he's mocking the verbal thing that happens when one stutters. And again, Biden's dealt with a lifelong stutter. And so that's not within the realm of making the accusation that someone's not mentally sharp or isn't on their game enough to be president. This is just criticizing something that millions of people deal with. As you're going to hear, watch, he mimics stuttering, not anything about just general cognition. Take a look.
Of the Union address, didn't it bring us together? Remember, he said, I'm going to bring the country together. I'm going to bring it together.
Right. That would be him mimicking a stutter, which is pretty vile. And now this is really impactful, so stick around for this. What I want to show you is the difference between how Trump speaks about and deals with people who deal with stuttering versus how Joe Biden does, okay? This is the difference in the character of Trump and Biden in a nutshell. Trump mimicking, mocking, Biden discussing with, this is pretty impactful, I'm about to show you. At a campaign event, he meets a little boy who deals with a stutter. Years later, you get to see this boy who has been working with Biden on working through and dealing with that stutter, and it's pretty incredible. So first, here's Biden at the campaign event with this boy.
Hey, what's your name?
Oh, this is my son, Braden.
Hey, Braden, how are you, man?
We're here because he stutters, and we wanted to hear you speak.
Oh, man, come on. I tell you what, don't let it define you. You are smart as hell. Now, you really are. You can do that. Can I get a phone number for you, and I can tell you what I used to do and how I would do it? Can you take his phone? Because there's about 25 stutterers I continue to work with. And I can tell you the things that help me. I know, by the way, the hardest thing is talking on the telephone. So I don't expect you to be able to. But when I stuttered, I used to talk like this. And it took a lot of practice, but I promise you you can do it. I promise you. And don't let it define you. You're handsome, you're smart, you're a good guy. I really mean it. Don't let it define you. And you know, when I say I know about bullies, you know about bullies. The kids who make fun, it's going to change, honey. I promise you. I promise you.
Yeah. And then here's this boy later on.
Hi, my name is Braden Harrington, and I'm 13 years old. And without Joe Biden, I wouldn't be talking to you today. About a few months ago, I met him in New Hampshire. He told me that we were members of the same club. We stutter. It was really amazing to hear that someone like me became vice president. He told me about a book of poems by Yeats he would read out loud to practice. He showed me how he marks his addresses to make them easier to say out loud. So I did the same thing today.
And then for our podcast listeners, he shows his speech. I'll stop it there for the sake of time. That's the difference, in a nutshell, in the character of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. Instead of criticizing Biden for a gazillion things that you're totally free to criticize him for, and we can disagree. If you don't like his historic list of achievements, the record investments in infrastructure, green energy, the lowering of prescription drug costs, if you don't like the wage growth that's taking place right now, or the record job growth, or the low unemployment, or the crime dropping, if you don't like those things, we can disagree on that for sure. We can have those policy debates. And we can even have fair, politically reasoned conversations about the cognitive acuity of a president, in this case, Joe Biden. Let's have those conversations. There's nothing politically reasonable or relevant about mocking a stutter. Because when Trump mocks Biden in that way, with the ta-ta-ta thing, he mocks millions of Americans who deal with that. And that's depraved. And the reason why Trump can't see that is because he doesn't have genuine interactions with people like that boy there. He can't understand that. He can't understand how to empathize in a way that would make someone like that boy pop in his head when he thinks about mocking and goes, oh wait, obviously I don't want to do that because of all of these human beings who would be impacted. Sure, Biden can take it. His fifis can take it. He's dealt with a lot of that. But a lot of people, if they saw that clip, would be negatively impacted. So Trump versus Biden. Their records, just such an easy decision. But also just as human beings, the character, also a pretty easy decision. All right, moving on from that, here's another moment from the same speech.
I'll tell you what, you take a look at MSDNC, how evil they are. They're evil. They're sick. They shouldn't even be allowed to do what they do because it's so corrupt. They shouldn't be allowed to do it.
They shouldn't be allowed to do it. Let me play this next clip.
So interesting. I watched these...
I think at the beginning I said I have two. I have three clips, actually. I just realized.
Interesting. I watched these criminals back there, the press. Look at them. Look at how many of them. That's a lot of people.
Criminals, he says, referring to the press. In one speech, he says MSNBC shouldn't be allowed to essentially say bad things about him. That's what he's saying when he says they do horrible coverage. And they're criminals. And this is not the only time Donald Trump has said things to this effect. Here's Truth Social. He said, I say up front, openly and proudly, that when I win the presidency of the United States, they and others of mainstream media will be thoroughly scrutinized for their knowingly dishonest, also referring to MSNBC and NBC News, Comcast, all those together. The knowingly dishonest and corrupt coverage of people, things, and events. Why should NBC or any other of the corrupt and dishonest media companies be entitled to use the very valuable airwaves of the USA free? They are a true threat to democracy and are in fact the enemy of the people. The fake news media should pay a big price for what they have done to our once great country. And he also wrote here, our so-called government, also referring again to MSNBC, our so-called government should come down hard on them and make them pay for their illegal political activity. More to come, watch. So he's openly attacking. You can't, my goodness, you cannot pretend like you value the First Amendment, specifically the protections for freedom of the press, and support Donald Trump. You can't. He's openly saying they're criminals. What do you do to criminals? What do you do to criminals? You go after them legally. That's what he's setting up here. And he says the government should come down hard on them, his wording. And they should pay, his wording. Media outlets he doesn't like because they do bad coverage of him, according to him. That is him openly, transparently saying he will go after outlets he doesn't like in a second term. You do not believe in our Constitution. Let me just make this very clear. I'm so sick and tired of people not understanding this, I guess, or understanding it and not caring. You don't care about our Constitution. You don't. If you support Trump, you really don't. Or at least you don't know that you don't care about our Constitution. Your actions are showing a lack of care, even if it's because of some wild misunderstanding. And here, he said a massive fraud of this type of magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, and it's getting cut off, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. A termination of all rules, regulations, articles, even those found in the Constitution, based on his election lies. calling for the termination of the Constitution, and openly campaigning on going after media outlets he doesn't like. Guys, obviously those watching my videos, for the most part, already agree with what I'm saying probably. So I'm screaming at you for nothing. But those who do support him, I don't get it. I don't get how you can act like, oh, we're the party of the Constitution. And we like freedom of speech. But let's pick the guy who's openly foreshadowing his intention to go after media outlets he doesn't like. You don't stand for the Constitution if you only stand for it when it's convenient to your ideology. This is just wild. It really hit me today. This is the guy that tens of millions of Americans are going to vote for come November. Disturbing. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Also, if you would watch the interview I did with Colin Allred, I'll put it right there. The Texas Senate candidate running against Ted Cruz.